The cold wind blows relentlessly over the vast, snow-covered landscape, carrying the echoes of a silent world. High above the realm of men, the wall stretches endlessly into the horizon, an ancient sentinel standing tall against the unknown. The night is still, save for the soft whisper of the wind as it rustles through the cracks in the ice. Underneath the blanket of snow, the silence is almost deafening. Tonight, a solitary figure walks slowly along the wall, his boots crunching in the fresh snow, each step deliberate and steady. He is a veteran of the Night's Watch, a man who has spent countless nights guarding the northernmost frontier of Westeros. The world beyond the wall is filled with noise, war, politics, the clash of kingdoms, but here, where only the wind and the snow exist, there is nothing but stillness. As the stars twinkle faintly above, casting a cold light over the barren landscape, the Watchman moves in rhythm with the night, his breath misting in the air. He does not hurry. The job is simple: observe, protect, wait, but it is one that must be done. And in the quiet of the wall, there is a strange kind of peace that comes from solitude. No distractions, no voices, just the sound of his own footsteps in the wind. On this cold, silent night, as he walks his lonely rounds, he reflects on the ancient duty of the Night's Watch, a duty older than kings, older than wars. It is a life of honor, but of quiet, unspoken solitude. A life spent in the shadows, keeping watch where few ever venture. A life where the only sound is the howling wind and the steady crunch of snow beneath his feet. Let us join him now, as he makes his way along the wall, one step at a time, in a world where the only thing that matters is the peace found in silence. The wind bites at his face as the veteran of the Night's Watch walks along the wall, his breath visible in the cold night air. The snow beneath his boots crunches softly with each step, the only sound in a world that seems to be held in a perpetual, quiet freeze. The cold is a constant companion, and he's long grown used to it. Both the physical chill and the emptiness that comes with the silence of this frozen wasteland. He's been walking these rounds for years, perhaps decades, and yet the solitude never seems to lessen. It's a life of honor, yes, but also one of isolation. The wall is vast, and the only company he has tonight is the wind, the stars, and the endless stretch of ice. His thick cloak, made of black wool and fur, flaps gently in the breeze, but it offers little relief against the sharp sting of the cold. He's learned to ignore the discomfort, to focus on the task at hand, keeping watch. His hand rests on the hilt of his sword, the cold steel a familiar weight at his side. Though there is nothing to guard against at this hour, he remains vigilant. Old habits die hard. His gaze drifts upward to the vast expanse of sky above. The stars shimmer faintly in the darkness, their light soft but steady, just as it has been for centuries. It's an endless, timeless sky, and under it, the Watchman walks his lonely patrol. He takes a moment to pause, his boots still in the snow, and looks out over the wall's edge, the black abyss of the wilderness stretching far beyond his sight. There is a strange peace in the isolation, in the stillness of the night, with only the wind to break the silence. The Watchman finds a moment to breathe deeply, to reflect. A life of silence, he thinks, and one that has no end. The wall has stood for centuries, its stones weathered by time, but its purpose remains the same: to keep the unknown at bay, to protect the realms of men from what lies beyond. The night is his to patrol, a duty that has been passed down from generation to generation. And as he walks, he thinks not of the politics of the kingdoms, not of the lords or the kings, but of the simple fact that he is part of something much older. The Watchman's duty is not to serve a lord, but to serve the wall itself. The silence, though heavy at times, feels oddly comforting to him. In a world filled with wars, scheming, and constant noise, this is the one place where time seems to slow, where nothing but the wind and the stars matter. Here, at the edge of the world, he feels connected to something larger than himself, something older than the kingdoms he once swore allegiance to. He moves forward again, the wind brushing against his face as he resumes his slow walk along the wall. With each step, his thoughts drift further into the past. His life before the wall seems so distant now, a life of warmth, laughter, and the noise of the world. He doesn't miss it. Not anymore. The past is a heavy thing, and here, in the cold silence, he's learned to let it go. Instead, his focus is on the wall, the duty that has been entrusted to him and to all those who have worn the black. As the night stretches on, his thoughts move from one thing to another, but always with the steady pulse of the wall beneath him. Each step is one more in a long line of countless others, each night blending into the next. The same cold, the same wind, the same silence. For now, there is peace in that rhythm. The night stretches on, silent and unbroken. The watchman's steps are steady as he continues his rounds, the snow beneath his boots offering a soft crunch with each footfall. He pauses briefly at the edge of the wall, his eyes scanning the horizon, where the dark, snow-covered wilderness stretches far beyond the reach of the torchlight. There is nothing out there, nothing but the eternal, unchanging silence of the north. He inhales deeply, the cold air biting at his lungs, and exhales slowly. The wind tugs at his cloak, but it offers little warmth. He's learned to embrace the cold. After all, it is a constant companion. The cold is a part of the wall, and, in a way, it's become a part of him too. For a moment, he closes his eyes, letting the silence of the night wash over him. The howling winds, the soft rustling of the snow, and the distant sounds of the wild beyond the wall are all that break the stillness. But he doesn't mind. In fact, he prefers it. In the quiet of the night, there are no distractions, no voices, no expectations. There is only the wall, the stars above, and the vast wilderness stretching on forever. The watchman opens his eyes and looks out over the frozen landscape again. The darkness seems endless. He can't see beyond the reach of the wall, but he knows what lies out there, beyond the pale, beyond the frozen wastes. The creatures that roam in the far reaches of the world, the mysteries that even the old Night's Watch couldn't fully comprehend. That's why he's here. That's why all of them are here, guarding the wall, standing sentinel against whatever may come from the darkness. For a moment, a fleeting thought crosses his mind. How many others have stood here before me? It's an old thought, one he's had countless times before. The wall has been here for millennia, and its purpose remains the same. And yet, the world has changed so much. The wars, the kings, the rising and falling of houses. None of it matters here, on this frozen frontier. Here, there is only the wall and its eternal purpose. The watchman turns his head to the side and looks up at the stars. They are clearer out here, far from the smog and lights of the cities. The stars twinkle faintly against the backdrop of the cold sky, each one a pinprick of light in an infinite darkness. He wonders if the ancient ones, those who built the wall, who stood here long before him, felt the same way. Did they too find peace in the quiet, in the endless stretch of night and snow? Or did they, like the watchman himself, struggle with the silence, knowing that they were the only ones who stood between the living world and the dangers that waited beyond? He doesn't have an answer, and that's okay. The watchman has learned that some questions don't need answers. His duty isn't to question, but to watch. And so he continues his rounds, his pace steady, his thoughts fading into the quiet night. The world beyond the wall is silent, and that silence is a comfort. The cold seems to deepen as he moves further along the wall. His cloak rustles with the wind, but the thick furs do little to stave off the chill. His fingers, numb from the cold, grip the hilt of his sword a little tighter, as though the action will bring some warmth, some comfort. But there is no warmth out here, only the chill and the endless quiet. As the watchman continues walking, the darkness presses in from all sides, wrapping him in its embrace. But for him, it is not oppressive. It is simply the way things are. The quiet, the cold, the endless snow, it is all part of the wall. And he is part of it, too. The watchman's path winds along the wall, his silhouette framed against the vast, endless expanse of snow and ice. The faint light from the distant stars casts a dim glow on the frozen ground, the landscape stretching endlessly in every direction. He has seen this view countless times, so much that it has become part of him, an unchanging constant in a world that often feels like it is in constant flux. He walks, lost in thought, the soft crunch of his boots in the snow marking each step in the deepening night. The wind picks up, swirling in gentle gusts, and the watchman pulls his cloak tighter around him. The cold is biting, but he's learned to endure it. It's part of the life he's chosen, part of the duty he's sworn to uphold. He has accepted the cold, the wind, the isolation. It's all a part of guarding the wall, a wall that has stood for centuries, and one that he is proud to serve. As he walks, his mind drifts. Thoughts of the past occasionally flicker in and out of his awareness, memories of days long gone, of his life before the wall. He remembers the sounds of the city, the warmth of a crowded tavern, the laughter of friends, the clink of coin in his pocket. It feels like a lifetime ago, but that life no longer calls to him. The wall is his home now. The watch is his family. For the 1000th time, he wonders what life is like beyond the wall. The kingdoms to the south, the cities filled with people. He can't imagine it the way he once did. Everything seems distant from here, as if the world beyond the wall is another reality altogether. It's a life that, once, he could have had, but not now. Not anymore. He thinks of the old saying, "The wall takes what it wants and gives nothing in return." It's a saying the older members of the Watch would mutter to the new recruits. They never said it to be cruel, but to remind them of the reality of their duty. There's no glory here, no fame, just the quiet, endless work. Watch the wall. Wait for the unknown. Protect the realms of men. That's all there is. He pauses for a moment, his eyes drifting to the horizon. The faint outline of the wall stretches as far as the eye can see, its towering heights disappearing into the dark sky. Below him, the wilderness stretches on, an endless sea of snow and ice. There are rumors, whispers of things that roam beyond the wall, creatures from the darkest corners of the world, but he has never seen them. The threat is always there, but it's distant, never a true presence. Still, the Watchman can feel it in his bones, the ever-present knowledge that something lies just beyond their reach, something ancient, something that doesn't care about kings or kingdoms, about borders or walls. It's the reason the wall was built in the first place, to separate the living from whatever lies beyond. And it's a job that must be done year after year, generation after generation. He sighs, a small puff of steam rising from his lips, and continues his patrol. The wind howls as it picks up again, but it doesn't bother him. He has long since become one with the cold and the silence. His footsteps are steady, unwavering, as he follows the wall's edge, his watchful eyes scanning the horizon for any signs of movement, any disturbance in the silence. His thoughts drift once again, back to the days before the watch, before he took the black and swore his oath. He had been young then, filled with ambition and dreams of a life beyond the wall. But that life never came. He was drawn here, to this duty, to this life of quiet, solitary service. And over time, the desire for something more faded. The wall was where he belonged, where he had always belonged. The wind howls in his ears, and he closes his eyes for a moment, letting the cold air cleanse his thoughts. He knows his place now. He knows what it means to be part of the wall, to be a part of something larger than himself. The past is gone, but the wall will stand. And so, he continues his rounds, taking each step with quiet purpose, each movement part of the rhythm that has been set by those who came before him. The wall is endless, and so too is his duty. The wind howls louder now, an unrelenting force against the wall. It pushes against him, a cold, biting current that seems to carry the weight of the world. Yet, the Watchman doesn't flinch. He's accustomed to the harshness of this land, to the way the cold seeps into your bones and the wind never stops. Here, at the edge of the world, he is alone with the elements, with only the stars above and the wall beside him for company. His boots crunch in the snow, the sound faint under the roar of the wind. With each step, his breath comes in short, visible bursts. His mind, once filled with fleeting thoughts of the past, now settles into a quiet rhythm. The silence between his steps, the cold that presses against him, and the ever-present wind, all combine to create a peace that feels both heavy and light at the same time. He pauses again, standing still at the edge of the wall. The vastness of the wilderness stretches before him, a land where time seems to hold no meaning, where nothing exists but ice, snow, and silence. He gazes out at the horizon, where the dark expanse of the world beyond the wall seems to blend into the night. A place untouched, as ancient as the wall itself, yet it's always waiting, always watching. The Watchman knows that something lies out there, beyond the wall. It's why he is here. He is one of the few, one of the chosen, sworn to guard against what lies beyond, even if that what is a mystery. That's the life of a member of the Night's Watch, mysterious, unknown, solitary. The only certainty is the job, to watch, to wait, to protect. He wonders, for a fleeting moment, what it would be like to be free of this life, to leave the wall behind and return to the warmth of the world beyond. But that thought is fleeting. The wall is home now. The years spent here have woven this cold, silent place into his very soul. He has come to accept it, to find peace in it. This is where he belongs. A soft gust of wind stirs the snow at his feet, and he takes a deep breath, letting the cold fill his lungs. His heart beats steadily, a quiet reminder that even in this vast emptiness, life continues. His eyes shift from the horizon back to the wall itself. The centuries-old stone, worn by the elements but still standing tall, still as steadfast as the duty that holds him here. The watchman pulls his cloak tighter around his shoulders, the fur collar brushing against his face. He adjusts his grip on the hilt of his sword, the comforting weight of it reminding him of his purpose. He doesn't need to see the threat to know it's out there. The very nature of the wall is that it stands against the unknown, against whatever might come from the wild, the dark, and the cold. As he continues along the wall, the sound of his footsteps in the snow begins to blend with the sound of the wind. There is no rush. The patrol is a slow, methodical process, one step at a time. The patrols blend together, one night after another. But it is the quiet certainty of it all that brings a strange comfort. No accolades, no ceremonies, just this: the wall, the wind, the snow, and the duty he is sworn to. A part of him knows that the wall will never let him leave. Once you take the black, once you swear the oath, there is no turning back. It is not a life to be chosen lightly, but for him, it's the only life that makes sense. The world beyond seems like a distant memory now, faded and almost foreign. The wall is his reality, his home, his duty, and as the wind howls around him, he walks on, his path clear before him, knowing that the silence of the night will be the only thing to answer his call. The stars continue to twinkle above, as if nothing has changed. Time marches on, but here, at the wall, it feels as though everything is in a state of suspended animation. The watchman keeps moving, one step at a time, as the cold wind sings its lonely song across the wall. The wind begins to settle, leaving the air sharp and still. The watchman, now further along the wall, stops to take a brief respite. The icy landscape stretches endlessly before him, the snow glistening faintly under the weak light of the stars. He leans against a weathered section of the wall, his hands tucked into his thick fur cloak for warmth. The cold is biting, but it is nothing new. The constant chill of the wall has become part of him, something he no longer notices unless it begins to gnaw at his bones. For a moment, the watchman closes his eyes, letting the silence envelop him once more. The distant howling of the wind is now just a whisper, leaving only the soft, steady rhythm of his breathing in the vast emptiness. In this moment, there is nothing but him and the wall, the timeless sentinels of ice and stone. The land before him, untouched and unmoving, stretches into the distance, and for a brief, fleeting moment, he feels both small and infinite. His life has become this, one of quiet, unbroken solitude. His thoughts wander, as they often do in the quiet of the night. He recalls the days before he took the black, when he was just a young man with dreams and ambitions. He remembers the warmth of the hearth in his family's house, the clinking of mugs in the local tavern, and the laughter of his comrades. It was a life filled with noise, with human connection, and with the hum of everyday life. But that life feels distant now, like a dream he barely remembers, fading with each step he takes farther from the world he once knew. His mind drifts back to the day he first swore his oath. The moment he took the black, there had been no hesitation, no second thoughts. It was something he had known deep down was his destiny. The watch had called to him, even then, in a way he couldn't fully understand. It was more than just a duty, it was a calling. And now, after all these years, it's the only thing that makes sense to him. He remembers the faces of his fellow recruits, the youthful idealism in their eyes, the naive belief that the wall was just a place to prove themselves, to be part of something greater. Now, those faces are gone, replaced by the hard, weathered eyes of men who have seen too much. The youth he had once known on his first days in the Watch had faded into the stoic expressions of veterans. They had all become part of the wall, just as he had. Some had fallen in battle, others had simply disappeared into the wind, their names barely remembered. He sighs quietly, the weight of the years pressing gently against him. His life is not one of grand battles or epic tales. There are no wars here, no noble houses vying for power. The wall is a place of quiet service, where men come to fade into obscurity, guarding against something they never truly see. Yet it is here, in the stillness, that the Watchman finds his peace. The past is a distant memory now. It's like the snow that falls, soft, silent, and quickly forgotten. What matters now is the here and now. The patrols, the silence, the duty. The rest of the world may be filled with kings, queens, and endless struggles for power. But here, there is only the simple task of guarding the wall. In the cold, the darkness, and the endless stretches of snow, he has found purpose. He opens his eyes again, taking in the vast expanse of the land before him. The silence is thick, almost tangible, but comforting. There are no enemies here, no battles to be fought. There is just the endless vigil, the slow, steady pace of his duty. The Watchman straightens his back, adjusting his cloak, and takes another slow breath, feeling the cold air fill his lungs. The stars above seem to wink back at him, distant and unmoving, much like the wall itself. His thoughts are interrupted by the distant sound of a raven's call, a brief but familiar sound in the night. The Watchman turns toward it, scanning the horizon for any signs of movement. But the night remains still, as it always does. There is nothing, no threat, just the quiet of the wall. He pulls his cloak tighter, preparing to continue his rounds. The silence is his only companion now, and he walks forward again, each step methodical, measured, the rhythm of his patrol uninterrupted. The past is behind him, but the wall remains. The duty remains. And as long as he walks these lonely rounds, it is enough. The Watchman continues his slow, steady pace along the wall, his boots crunching softly in the snow, each step a quiet companion to the rhythmic hum of the wind. The vast expanse of wilderness before him feels endless, as if the landscape goes on forever, stretching into a dark and unknowable horizon. He's walked these rounds countless times, and yet each step feels as fresh as the first. There is something about the stillness of the wall that brings a clarity he doesn't find anywhere else. Something about the cold that sharpens the mind, helps it focus, helps it forget. As he walks, his mind begins to drift again. This time, it's to the days before he came to the wall. His memories are fragmented, like the pieces of an old, faded map, but he can still remember them. Those simpler days, when he was a man with dreams, before the wall became his life. He remembers the laughter of friends, the warmth of a shared hearth, the sun on his face as he walked through the crowded streets of his hometown. There had been a time when he was a part of the world, when life was full of noise and chaos. Now, it all feels distant, like a dream long faded. The world he once knew, with its bustling towns and vibrant cities, seems like another life altogether. It's a life that he let go of, a life that slipped through his fingers as surely as the snow falls from the sky. He chose this. He chose the wall. And now, this is who he is, a man of the Watch, standing guard over an ancient fortress, alone in the frozen wilderness. His breath comes in visible clouds, and he tightens his grip on the hilt of his sword, the cold steel a familiar weight at his side. It has become an extension of him, just as the wall has become an extension of his existence. The sword is part of the silence, part of the routine that defines his life now. There are no grand battles, no thrilling victories. There is only this, standing watch, walking the rounds, and guarding against whatever may come from the wilds beyond. His thoughts flicker to the men who came before him, to the legends of the Night's Watch. He's heard the stories from the older members, tales passed down from generation to generation, stories of the wall's creation, of its purpose as the last line of defense against the creatures of the dark, against the unknown. The Watchman has never seen any of the things the old men speak of, no giants, no wights, no creatures of the deep. Yet, in his bones, he feels the weight of their existence. It is the very reason the wall was built, the reason men like him are bound to stand in its shadow, year after year. He wonders what it must have been like in the old days, when the wall was a place of true danger, when the threat beyond was tangible and ever-present. These days, the threat feels distant, almost theoretical. The wildlings are few and far between. The land beyond the wall is vast and empty, and the horrors that once prowled the darkness seem like stories told to scare the recruits. But still, he remains vigilant. The wall may seem quiet now, but he knows all too well how quickly things can change. It's the nature of this life, the life of a watchman, to always be ready, always watchful, even when nothing happens, even when everything seems still. His thoughts return to his fellow members of the watch, those who have walked these rounds with him. Some have come and gone, others are still with him, their faces etched with the same stoic expressions. The older men, the ones who have seen more winters than he can count, are the ones who truly understand the weight of the wall. They've been here long enough to see the changes, to feel the shift in the winds, and to understand that the wall will continue to stand, whether or not they're around to see it. He often wonders, quietly, what will become of the wall once he's gone. Will it remain as it always has, an ancient monument to those who stood watch against the dark? Or will it, too, fade with time, forgotten as the world moves on without it? He shakes his head, pushing the thought away. It's not his concern. His duty is clear. He is here to serve, to protect, and to stand watch. The future of the wall is not for him to decide. The snow begins to fall again, a light dusting that settles gently over the landscape. The watchman pulls his cloak tighter around him, adjusting the fur collar against the biting wind. The soft flakes swirl in the air, dancing lazily in the gusts. It's a beautiful sight, one that always calms his restless mind. The purity of the snow, the stillness of the night. It is a kind of peace that he's learned to cherish. In a world filled with chaos, this quiet, endless winter feels like the only truth. The watchman resumes his walk, the solitude of the wall wrapping around him once more. He is alone, yes, but not lonely. He is not isolated, but connected to something far greater. The wall is a place of quiet duty, where honor is found not in the clash of swords, but in the endless vigil kept by those who stand guard. And as he walks, one step at a time, the watchman knows that his place here is as certain as the wall itself. The wind picks up once again, sweeping across the wall with a fierce howl. The watchman pulls his cloak tighter around him, feeling the familiar sting of the cold against his skin. The snow swirls in the air, carried by the gusts, and the world before him becomes a blurred landscape of white and gray. It is a cold, unforgiving world, and yet it has become his. This is where he belongs now. The snow, the ice, the eternal stillness. They are his companions, as constant as the stars above. He continues along the wall, his steps slow but deliberate, each footfall sinking into the deep snow. His breath comes in clouds, disappearing into the icy air. The world beyond the wall is nothing but a dark, endless void. There is no warmth, no light, just the cold expanse of winter stretching endlessly into the unknown. As he walks, his thoughts turn to the duty he's sworn to uphold. The night's watch, the sacred vow to guard the realm from the dangers beyond the wall, a duty that has been passed down for centuries. He's seen the faces of new recruits come and go, young men eager to prove themselves, to take their place among the brothers of the watch. But in the end, they all learn the same lesson. The wall doesn't care about your past, your ambitions, or your dreams. It only cares about the present, about the duty, about the watch. He thinks of the older men he's come to know, the ones who have been here far longer than him. Their faces are etched with time, their eyes hardened by years of standing watch against the cold, against the unknown. They have seen things he can only imagine, witnessed the passage of time in a way that few others have. Some of them are wise, others jaded, but all of them have one thing in common. They have all come to understand the weight of the wall. They know that no matter how long they stand guard, no matter how many nights pass in silence, the wall will never change. It will always be here, silent, steadfast, eternal. He knows that he, too, will become one of them. One day, he will be the old man with the weathered face, watching the young recruits with the same quiet understanding, imparting the same lessons about duty and silence. He doesn't look forward to that day, but he accepts it. There is no escaping the passage of time. The wall has been here for thousands of years, and it will continue long after he's gone. The watchman's pace slows as his thoughts shift to the future, or rather, to the lack of it. The wall doesn't allow for dreams of the future. It doesn't care about what lies beyond the horizon. The duty is the only thing that matters here. The past, the present, and the future all blend together in the endless silence of the wall. His hand rests on the hilt of his sword, the cold steel a familiar weight at his side. He feels the comfort of its presence, the reassurance that, should something appear, he will be ready. But even as he walks, even as he keeps watch, there is a part of him that wonders what it is they're guarding against. He has heard the old stories, the tales of the creatures that once roamed the world beyond, of the long night and the darkness that threatened all of humanity. But in his years on the wall, he has never seen anything. The wildlings, few and far between, are the only real threat he's ever encountered. But even they are not as frightening as the stories make them out to be. Still, the watchman doesn't allow himself to let his guard down. The wall is a place of vigilance, a place where every shadow could hide a danger, where every sound could be the wind or something more. And so he watches. He walks his rounds, one step at a time, each movement methodical, practiced. He has learned to find peace in the silence, to find comfort in the routine. The wall may be cold and empty, but it is his, and in it, he finds a sense of purpose that he can't find anywhere else. The stars are brighter tonight, the sky clearer than usual. The watchman looks up for a moment, marveling at the endless expanse of the heavens. It's a sight he never grows tired of. There is something reassuring in the constancy of the stars, in the way they have watched over the wall for as long as it has stood. They are a reminder that even in the cold, even in the endless silence, there is beauty, there is peace. As he walks on, the snow begins to fall more heavily, a light dusting covering the ground beneath him. It is a reminder that the night will continue, that his rounds will go on, as they always do. There is no end to the duty, no end to the watch. And as long as he stands guard, the wall will remain. The wind has calmed once more, leaving the wall in a deep, unsettling quiet. The watchman pauses, standing at the edge, looking out into the endless stretch of ice and snow. The silence, now thick and heavy, feels almost oppressive, but it is a silence he has come to embrace. There is peace in the solitude here, in the quiet companionship of the night and the cold. But there is also an ever-present weight, the knowledge that his life, his purpose, is defined by his duty on this frozen frontier. He breathes deeply, letting the crisp air fill his lungs, and then exhales slowly. The sky is still clear above, the stars twinkling faintly, offering a small but constant light in the dark abyss of the night. His hand moves once more to the hilt of his sword, a comforting reminder of the role he plays in this vast, desolate world. Even though the night is peaceful now, the watchman knows that it is his responsibility to ensure it remains so. A shadow moves, and he will be there. A sound breaks the silence, and he will hear it. His thoughts return once again to the years he has spent on the wall. He recalls the first days as a recruit, the sense of uncertainty that had gripped him, the excitement of joining something so old, so steeped in history. But time has a way of dulling the edge of excitement, of replacing the unknown with routine. The stories he once heard, stories of wildlings, of creatures beyond the wall, of ancient horrors and battles, now feel distant, like myths told around a fire. What has he really seen? What has the wall really protected them from? He wonders if the younger recruits feel the same way. They join with such fire, with an idealism that fades as the years go on. They come with visions of grandeur, of epic battles and noble causes. But that is not the reality of the Night's Watch. There are no grand speeches, no wars to fight. There is only the slow, methodical watch over an empty wilderness, a vigil that will continue long after the recruits have gone. But the watchman understands. He knows that in time, they will all learn. The wall is not a place for glory. It is a place for duty. A place for men who are willing to give up the life they once knew, the world they once loved, to serve something greater than themselves. He knows that he is not alone in this. The watch is full of men who have sacrificed, men who have given everything for this life of quiet service. The sound of his boots crunching in the snow is the only noise that fills the air. His pace is unhurried, deliberate. Every step is part of a rhythm that has been passed down for centuries. There is no need to hurry. The night will pass as it always does. The stars will shift across the sky, the wind will rise and fall, and the watchman will walk his rounds, one step at a time. As he continues along the wall, he allows his thoughts to wander once more, but this time, they do not drift to the past. They drift forward. What will happen when his time here ends? What will become of him once his oath is fulfilled, once his duty to the wall is complete? The question lingers in his mind, but he knows there is no answer. There is no future beyond the wall, not for men like him. The watchman knows that the wall will outlast him. It has outlasted all those who have come before him, and perhaps that is what brings him comfort, knowing that in the end, the wall will stand, no matter what. The kingdoms may rise and fall, the world may change, but the wall will remain. It is an eternal sentinel, standing firm against the cold, against the dark. His thoughts return to the present, to the task at hand. The silence of the night is still thick around him, the snow falling gently as he walks. There is no movement, no danger. The watch remains uneventful, as it always does. Yet, this is the work. This is the life. A steady watch, a quiet rhythm, unbroken by anything beyond the wind and the cold. He takes another deep breath, the cold filling his lungs once more. And as he continues his lonely rounds, the watchman finds peace in the unspoken promise of the wall. The wall that has stood, that will stand, no matter who is watching. The peace that comes from knowing that he, like all who came before him, is simply another part of that quiet, eternal watch. The stars above seem to burn a little brighter tonight, their cold, distant light casting a soft glow over the frozen landscape. The watchman pauses once more at the edge of the wall, his gaze drifting across the wilderness. The snow falls gently, almost peacefully, in the quiet of the night. There is no movement, no sound except for the whisper of the wind as it curls around the stone, tugging at the edges of his cloak. He closes his eyes for a moment, letting the silence wash over him. It's a silence he has come to know so well, the kind of stillness that fills the air when nothing is moving, when there are no voices or distractions to break it. In the world beyond the wall, there is always noise, people shouting, horses trotting, the rustle of a busy city. But here, there is only the wind and the snow. It is a silence that makes the world feel both vast and small, both endless and contained. In a way, it is as though he is standing at the edge of time itself, the wall marking the boundary between what is known and what lies beyond, the eternal and the fleeting. The watchman takes a deep breath, feeling the cold air fill his lungs. The cold has become a part of him now, something that defines him just as much as the wall does. He pulls his cloak tighter around him, tightening the fur-lined collar against the bite of the wind. It's a harsh life, this one, full of cold and isolation. But it is also one of purpose, one of duty, and that, above all, is what keeps him going. He may not know what lies beyond the wall, what creatures roam the dark corners of the world, but he knows this. His job is to watch, to guard, to stand, unflinching, against whatever comes. The watchman starts walking again, his boots sinking softly into the deep snow. The path is familiar, worn by countless footsteps before him. There is nothing new here, nothing that demands his attention. The wall stretches out before him like a sentinel in the dark, and he knows that his duty is as constant as its stone walls. His steps are slow and deliberate, each one marking the passage of time, each one reminding him of the unbroken rhythm that defines his existence here. As he walks, his thoughts drift back to the beginning, to the day he first came to the wall, eager and full of youthful energy, with dreams of adventure and glory. He had been young then, full of hope and ambition, ready to make his mark on the world. But the wall had a way of tempering that hope. It wasn't about glory, it was about duty. It was about standing watch, keeping an eye on the horizon, and waiting for something, anything, that might need defending. In the early days, he had been restless, yearning for something more. But now, after all these years, he's come to understand that this is enough. The silence of the wall, the unchanging nature of his duty, is what gives him purpose. His thoughts turn to the young recruits who now join the watch. They come full of that same idealism, believing that the wall is a place of adventure, a place where they will be tested, where they will face great challenges and emerge heroes. But the wall doesn't offer heroics. It doesn't offer grand battles or victories. It offers solitude. It offers the quiet, unrelenting passage of time. And it takes a piece of each man who joins, drawing them deeper into its rhythm, until they become a part of it, just like him. The watchman's hand rests on the hilt of his sword, the cold steel familiar under his fingers. It is always there, a reminder of his duty, of the responsibility he bears. It is not a weapon of war. It is a tool of vigilance, a symbol of his commitment to the wall and all that it stands for. He does not need to draw it often. The sword's presence is enough. It is a reminder that the threat beyond is real, even if it is unseen. Even if it has been years since anyone truly tested the wall, the watchman knows that the danger remains. It is always waiting, always just beyond the horizon, in the depths of the cold, dark wilderness. As he continues walking, his mind drifts back to the older members of the watch, the ones who have seen it all. They have told him stories of the long nights when the cold was unbearable, of the strange and frightening creatures that once wandered the land beyond the wall. The older men know things that he will never truly understand. They carry the weight of experience, and it shows in the quiet way they carry themselves, in the calm acceptance of their duty. They no longer expect to be tested. They no longer seek answers. They have come to accept the wall for what it is, a place of duty, a place of honor, and a place of silence. The watchman stops for a moment, taking in the sight before him. The wall towers over him, a massive, ancient structure that has stood for centuries. It feels eternal, a part of the land itself. He looks up at the sheer ice, the jagged stones, the countless steps that have been worn into its surface by the passage of time. It is a monument to duty, a symbol of the commitment that has held the realms of men safe for so long. And though the world may change, though the kingdoms may rise and fall, the wall will remain. The watchman resumes his walk, the crunch of his boots in the snow breaking the silence once again. There is no need to rush. The night is long, and there is always time to reflect, to remember. The wall has no end, no destination. It is simply a line, a boundary, a place where men stand to watch, to protect, and to wait for the unknown. The watchman knows that his place in this vast, cold world is as certain as the wall itself. And in that certainty, he finds peace. The night is still, but the air grows colder as the watchman moves along the wall's edge, his footsteps steady in the thick blanket of snow. He's been walking these rounds for years, and yet each step feels as purposeful as the first. The cold, biting wind is the only companion on this walk, one that brings no comfort, only a quiet reminder that here, on the wall, there is nothing to be done but stand watch. The stars above remain a distant, indifferent witness to his solitude. He gazes at them now, the soft flicker of their light filling the sky. They seem closer here, further away from the distractions of the world below. In their light, the watchman finds a small solace, a reminder that the world is larger than the wall, that time is still moving, even if it feels stagnant here. But despite the beauty of the night sky, there is a heaviness that lingers in his heart. The peace of the wall, while steady, has also become a kind of burden. In its silence, he feels the weight of duty pressing harder, as if every step is an echo in the void. His mind drifts back to the early days, when the wall was a promise. It had seemed like the answer to a restless heart, the perfect place for a man like him, someone searching for a purpose greater than himself. In those days, the patrols had felt like adventure. There had been an excitement to the idea of the watch, the romance of standing guard at the very edge of the world. The uncertainty of the unknown had seemed like something to be conquered, a mystery waiting to be unraveled. But that thrill faded with the years. The wall became less of an adventure and more of a routine, a solitary existence defined by the endless monotony of standing watch. The danger, once so vivid in his mind, now feels distant. He has stood watch for so long that the idea of any real threat beyond the wall seems almost like a story told by the older members of the watch, a warning from those who have seen more winters than he can count. Yet, even as he thinks this, the watchman cannot shake the feeling that the world beyond the wall has changed, even if it is not immediately visible. The land out there, the wilderness that stretches as far as the eye can see, is not just a place of snow and silence. It holds something more, something ancient, something that will, one day, rise again. He does not know what it is, but there's a deep, unspoken truth that the wall was built for a reason, and that reason has yet to be fully realized. The watchman exhales, his breath misting in the cold night air. He has heard the old stories, whispered by those who have seen things beyond the wall, of creatures in the dark, of the ancient horrors that once roamed these lands. Some part of him has always dismissed them as exaggerations, the wild imaginings of men who have been standing in the cold too long. But there is another part of him, deep down, that knows the truth. He can feel it in his bones, the knowledge that the wall was built to protect the realms of men from something far worse than the wildlings. But that knowledge is buried, hidden beneath layers of routine. Each day passes, and there is no enemy to face, no threat to meet. The quiet stretches on, and with each silent patrol, the watchman feels both the weight of the wall's purpose and the tedium of his own existence. Time passes, as it always does, and yet nothing changes. He takes a few more steps, the snow now falling heavier, the ground beginning to feel softer underfoot. The crunch of his boots is louder now, breaking the silence with each movement. There is something comforting in the sound, the rhythm of his steps echoing against the stone of the wall. Each footfall is another moment, another step in the endless passage of time. And still, the night stretches on, unbroken, without end. The watchman stops for a moment, gazing out over the edge of the wall. Below, the wilderness is swallowed by the dark, the snow blending seamlessly with the night. The world feels both vast and small, endless and suffocating, all at once. His gaze lingers on the horizon, a place where the snow and the sky meet, a place where the world seems to disappear into itself. He wonders, for the first time in a long while, what it would be like to cross that horizon, to leave the wall behind and venture into the unknown. But he knows that thought is nothing more than a fleeting fancy. He is here. This is his duty. The wall is his life, and the thought of stepping beyond its reach seems both impossible and unnecessary. The unknown is not for him to face. His job is to stand watch, to guard against whatever lies beyond, whether it appears or not. He pulls his cloak tighter against the cold, adjusts the strap of his sword, and continues walking, his pace slow but steady. The wall is unchanged, and so too is his duty. There is no rush. There is only the quiet passage of time, and the knowledge that each round is just another step in the rhythm of his life. The watchman walks in a steady, deliberate rhythm, his boots sinking softly into the deep snow, leaving behind faint prints that will soon be covered again by the swirling wind. The night has deepened further, the stars now shining brilliantly above, their light reflecting off the snow and casting an ethereal glow over the frozen landscape. It's beautiful in its own stark way, cold, quiet, and timeless. A world where nothing moves except the wind, and even that seems to have slowed as the night wears on. The watchman has long learned to appreciate this silence. The weight of solitude, the absence of all the noise and distractions of the world beyond, has a way of sharpening his senses, focusing his thoughts. It's in the stillness that he finds clarity, that he can hear the deeper rhythm of his life, the endless ticking of the minutes that slip by unnoticed in the hustle and chaos of life elsewhere. Here, there is nothing to hurry for, no deadlines to meet, no voices clamoring for attention. It's just him and the wall, the wind, the snow, and the ever-present darkness stretching before him like an infinite sea. The thought occurs to him again. What lies beyond the wall? He has spent so many years standing guard, but still, the unknown hangs over him. The mysteries of the wilderness beyond, the things that were whispered about in the flickering candlelight of the common room back at Castle Black, remain just that, stories, myths, nothing more. But there is always that nagging sense that they are not just stories. The wall was built for a reason, and the more he stands here, alone with his thoughts, the more he senses that reason, that gnawing feeling that something is waiting. But tonight, that thought is pushed aside by the presence of the stars overhead. They are constant, unchanging, like the wall itself. He gazes up at them, momentarily lost in the vastness of the sky. For a moment, he is no longer a man standing guard against the unknown, but a small speck in an endless universe. The cold, the wind, the snow, they are all part of a much larger picture, one that he can never truly understand. He's just a piece of it, a quiet observer in the grand scheme of things. His footsteps continue, crunching in the snow as he moves along the wall's edge. The patrol is a meditative act. It is not about the sense of achievement or recognition. There is none of that here. The wall, like the Watchman, does not need to be seen. It simply is. A constant, steady presence in a world that seems to shift and change around it. As the Watchman walks, his mind drifts to the other members of the Watch, the men he has come to know over the years. Some have become like brothers, their faces worn with time, their spirits hardened by the years spent on this frozen frontier. Others have come and gone, their lives cut short or their oaths abandoned. But it is the ones who remain, those who continue to walk the rounds with him night after night, that truly understand the life of the wall. They understand that it is not about personal glory, nor about adventure. It is simply about the quiet, unshakable duty to stand guard. He can hear the soft murmurs of the men who have grown old here, who have stood watch for decades and seen the slow passage of time more clearly than anyone else. They are the true veterans, the ones who have witnessed the changing of the seasons, the rise and fall of those who came to the wall, and the way the world outside continues to shift while they remain silent and unmoving. Some of the older watchmen have given up on waiting for any real action. They no longer expect the wildlings to come, or the ancient creatures of the far north. They have learned to find peace in the quiet. The wall stands, unyielding, and their duty is to watch. No matter how long it takes, no matter how many years pass, the task is the same. For a moment, the watchman feels that weight, the knowledge that he, too, will one day be just another part of this long history, just another man who walked the wall and stood guard against the unknown. The thought is not an uncomfortable one, but it is sobering. The wall is eternal, and so too is the duty of those who stand before it. His thoughts return to the present as he takes another step, the snow now falling heavier, swirling around him in the wind. The path ahead is uncertain, but that is part of the life he's chosen. Every patrol, every step, is a reminder of the responsibility he bears. The cold doesn't matter, the silence doesn't matter. All that matters is the watch. His hand instinctively grips the hilt of his sword, not because there is any immediate danger, but because it is a reminder of what he is here to do. It is the symbol of his oath, a promise that he will stand watch, no matter the cost. The sword is a tool, a part of the ritual, just as the cold, the silence, and the snow are. The watchman pauses for a moment, allowing the wind to sweep past him. It cuts through his cloak, stinging his face, but he does not move. This is what he has signed up for. This is what he will continue to do until the end of his days. And even then, the wall will remain. The wind howls again, this time stronger, carrying with it a deep, unsettling chill that sinks even further into his bones. The watchman stands still, allowing the cold to wash over him, his eyes locked on the empty horizon. The world beyond the wall feels even more distant now, the snow that falls between him and the vast wilderness acting as a barrier, not just to the land, but to everything he's left behind. His hand moves to adjust his cloak once more, tightening it around his shoulders, but his gaze never wavers from the darkness before him. The quiet is overwhelming, almost suffocating, but it is a comfort he's come to depend on. The stillness of the night, the solitude, it allows him to think, to reflect without interruption. But tonight, even the quiet feels heavier, as if the wall itself is whispering to him. The thought comes unbidden, but it is there, lurking in the back of his mind, as it always is when he stands at the edge of the wall. What if the danger from beyond is closer than they think? The old men speak of it in whispers, of creatures that move in the dark, of the forgotten things that wait beyond the wall, things that were once locked away, sealed by the wall itself. The watchman has never seen any of these things, not in all his years here. But there's always that small, nagging feeling that maybe, just maybe, the stories aren't just stories. The stories of the others, the ancient beings of ice and shadow, have become just that, stories. A warning passed down from generation to generation, but one that has grown fainter with time. The wall was built to keep them out, to hold back the dark. But now, the wall is no longer a stronghold against the unknown. It's a relic, a place where men are sent to disappear, to fade into the endless silence. He shakes the thought from his mind. It's nothing but idle worry. There are no monsters in the dark, no ghosts to haunt them. There's nothing beyond the wall but snow and the occasional wildling raid. The watchman's job is simple: watch, wait, and protect. No matter how many nights pass in silence, no matter how many footsteps echo in the snow, it is the same. The duty doesn't change. He continues his patrol, his mind drifting as he walks. He passes the familiar landmarks, cracked sections of the wall, snowdrifts that have built up over the years, the marks left by those who have come before him. The history of the wall is written in the scars of the land itself. It is a place that carries with it centuries of secrets, of men who have come to stand guard, each of them hoping their turn would be brief, that their watch would end before the cold took them. But none of them leave. Not truly. The watchman has seen men come and go, recruits who thought they could handle the cold, the silence, the unending wait. Some left, their oaths abandoned in the face of the harsh reality. Others were lost to the wall itself, taken by the wilds, or simply never heard from again. But the wall, like the watchman, stands unbroken, unwavering against time, against the seasons, against the men who come and go. The watchman knows this is his fate now. His days are as endless as the wall, as cold and unyielding. The world outside may change, but here, he will stand. Here, there is only duty. The wall has become his life, and in a strange way, he has become part of it. He looks out again, the stars twinkling faintly in the dark sky above, their cold light casting long shadows on the snow. For a moment, he feels the weight of the years, the endless rounds, the stillness of his existence. But as quickly as it comes, the feeling passes. He pulls his cloak tighter and continues on, his footsteps a steady rhythm against the frozen world. The silence remains, thick and suffocating, but it no longer feels oppressive. It is simply part of the job, part of the peace that he has come to know here. The wall is a place of peace, of quiet reverence. No one bothers you here. No one asks anything of you except to watch, to wait. As the hours stretch on, the watchman's pace remains steady, his thoughts drifting again. He thinks of the recruits who joined, their youthful faces filled with hope and idealism, expecting grand adventures, only to be met with the brutal reality of the wall. Their eyes are different now, softer, more distant. They, too, have learned the lesson. This is not a place of glory. This is a place of duty. And duty is not always a comfortable thing. It is a quiet, often thankless existence. His eyes glance briefly to the side, where the torchlight flickers in the distance, casting a faint glow on the thick stone of the wall. Castle Black is not far now, where warmth and food await, and the quiet camaraderie of fellow watchmen. The watchman knows he will return there soon, to rest and sleep and begin again tomorrow. But for now, there is nothing but the cold and the silence. And so, the night passes. The first light of dawn begins to creep over the horizon, though it will take some time before it breaks through the thick blanket of snow and ice that clings to the wall. The watchman continues his rounds, moving slowly, the snow now softening underfoot as the night's chill slowly gives way to the first hint of morning. His breath is still visible, but less dense now, as if the cold is finally starting to retreat, just slightly, to make way for the faint warmth that is promised by the coming light. There is something oddly calming about this moment, the transition between night and day, when the world is neither fully dark nor fully light. The stars are still faintly visible above, their distant light now softer, lost in the growing illumination of the morning. The snow beneath him is undisturbed, a perfect, unbroken sheet of white stretching out in all directions. It feels as though the world is holding its breath, waiting for something to shift, for the first rays of the sun to cut through the stillness and herald the start of a new day. The watchman pauses, taking a moment to simply stand still. His eyes scan the horizon, lingering on the snow-covered landscape that lies beyond the wall, the wilds stretching out in an endless expanse. The quiet is almost overwhelming in its weight, and for a brief moment, he allows himself to appreciate it. This sacred stillness that has become the heart of his existence. In these quiet moments, he often finds clarity, his thoughts sharpening in the silence. It's hard to put into words, but over the years, the watchman has learned to recognize the value of silence, of stillness. It's a gift, really, in a world that is constantly moving, constantly filled with noise and chaos. There are no battles to fight here, no kings to serve, no politics to navigate. Here, in the frozen wasteland, there is only one duty: to watch, to wait, to be ever vigilant. There is something simple and pure about that, something peaceful. His hand instinctively moves to the hilt of his sword, though there is no need for it right now. It is simply a habit, a reassurance, that even in the quiet of this place, the watchman remains prepared. Prepared for whatever might come, though he knows that in all likelihood, it will be nothing. Another night passed in peace. Another day lived without incident. The watchman adjusts his cloak, tightening it around his neck, and begins walking again, his pace slow and measured. The snow crunches softly beneath his boots, the only sound in this vast, empty world. His mind drifts back to the early days when he first came to the wall. He had been full of youthful energy, eager to serve and prove himself. But the years had tempered that eagerness. Now, the wall feels more like home than anything else ever has. The cold is no longer a discomfort, but a constant presence, one that he has learned to live with, to accept. In some ways, it has become a part of him. His steps grow more steady as he moves along the wall's edge. There are no more thoughts of the past, no more longings for the world he once knew. There is only the present, only the wall of ice and stone that towers before him. It is a place of permanence, a place where time seems to slow, where nothing changes. There is comfort in that. There is peace in the knowledge that the wall will stand, whether or not he is here to see it. For a fleeting moment, the watchman wonders what life would have been like had he not taken the black, had he not sworn that ancient oath. What would he have done? Where would he have gone? Would he have found happiness in the warmth of a home, in the company of loved ones, or would he have been lost in the noise and bustle of a world that never stops? But that thought fades as quickly as it came. The watchman knows there is no point in dwelling on such things. The life he has now is the life he chose. It is a life of duty, of honor, of standing watch over a world that few understand and even fewer care to protect. There is no glory in this life, no recognition. But in the quiet of the wall, in the endless silence, there is something more. There is purpose, and that is enough. He reaches the end of his patrol, stopping once again to survey the vast wilderness stretching out before him. The landscape is unchanged. The world is still as it was when he began. It is the same world he has come to know so well, cold, quiet, and vast. And as the first rays of light begin to touch the wall, painting it with a pale, golden glow, the watchman feels the weight of another night come to an end, another watch fulfilled. The first light of day begins to slowly spread across the wall, the faintest tinge of orange and gold breaking through the cold, dark expanse. The watchman remains at the edge of the wall, his gaze fixed on the horizon. The wind has died down for now, leaving only the soft, almost imperceptible sound of the snowflakes falling from the sky, each one settling gently on the earth below. In the distance, the faint silhouette of Castle Black can be seen, a shadow in the morning light, standing just beyond the watchman's reach. He inhales deeply, savoring the stillness of the moment. It is a rare thing, this peace. The harshness of the north is always present, a constant undercurrent to his existence. But for now, the world feels like it is holding its breath, waiting for something that may never come. The cold, the wind, the endless silence. They are part of the wall, part of the duty he has sworn to uphold. Yet, in this moment, there is no urgency, no threat. There is only the wall of ice and stone, the wilderness beyond, and the watchman, standing alone in the quiet of the morning. He shifts his weight, adjusting the fur collar of his cloak, and begins his walk back toward Castle Black. His steps are slow, deliberate, the snow beneath his boots giving way with the faintest crunch. The night has passed, and with it, the usual rhythm of his routine returns. There is work to be done, duties to fulfill. The patrols are never truly over, no matter how quiet the night may have been. As he walks, his thoughts drift again, back to the stories he has heard. The tales of the old men who have walked these same paths, who have stood in the same stillness, waiting for a danger that rarely comes. They are the ones who remember when the wall had more purpose, when it was the last line of defense against the unknown. They tell stories of the great battles that once raged on these frozen plains, of the creatures that roam the land beyond. But those stories feel distant now, as distant as the world that existed before the wall became a place of quiet solitude. The Watchman stops for a moment, gazing out over the landscape, his eyes scanning the horizon one last time. The stars have faded, the moon sinking behind the wall, leaving only the pale light of dawn. He wonders if the old men still tell their stories, still speak of things they've seen with their own eyes. The younger recruits, the ones who have come to the Watch in recent years, don't talk about such things. They don't know the legends, the history that has become woven into the fabric of the wall. All they know is the duty, the cold, and the silence. They are the ones who will carry on the Watch, the next generation of men who will walk this path after he's gone. He continues on, the steady rhythm of his steps a calming metronome to the quiet world around him. The familiar stones of tassel black grow larger as he approaches, their weathered surfaces worn by time and the harsh northern winds. There is nothing spectacular about the castle, nothing grand or imposing. It is simply a structure built to withstand the elements, to house the men who have taken the black, the men who have chosen this life of duty and isolation. The Watchman enters the gates of tassel black, his pace still slow, but there is a shift in the air as he crosses the threshold. Inside, there is warmth, a stark contrast to the cold of the wall, and the flickering light of fire, the scent of bread baking, and the sound of voices murmuring quietly. It is the only place that feels like home, the only place that holds any semblance of connection to the world outside. But even here, the Watchman is a stranger. His duty is not to the castle, not to the people within it. His duty is to the wall, and the wall remains his home, no matter where he may rest for the night. As he walks through the familiar halls, he feels the eyes of his fellow watchmen on him, their gazes shifting away as they catch sight of him. They, too, know their duty, know the rhythm of the life they have chosen. There is no need for words, no need for recognition. The Watchman's place here is unquestioned, as it has been since the day he swore his oath. It is a life of duty, a life of solitude, but it is a life that is his own. He pauses for a moment, looking out the window toward the wall. The pale light of dawn has now broken fully across the horizon, casting long shadows across the snow-covered landscape. It is beautiful in its own way, and for a brief moment, the Watchman allows himself to appreciate the quiet beauty of the world around him. He does not have to be in the midst of the action to feel its significance. His work, his watch, is just as important as any battle fought or war won. And in this moment of quiet, in the stillness of the dawn, he is reminded that he is a part of something much larger than himself. The Watchman turns back toward the castle and makes his way deeper into its halls. The fire is burning brightly in the hearth, the warmth spilling over him as he steps closer. But it is the cold of the wall that has his attention. He knows that his duty is waiting, and the wall is always there, always silent, always watching. The fire crackles softly in the hearth as the Watchman sits by the warmth, his cloak and armor now hung by the door to dry. The interior of tassel black feels like a distant memory compared to the wall. There's a certain heaviness in the air here, a contrast to the infinite quiet of the night outside. The low murmur of voices, the clink of utensils as men share their evening meals, the quiet shuffle of boots on stone floors. It all serves as a reminder that this is still a world alive with movement, even if the wall itself is frozen in time. The Watchman takes a slow sip from his mug of warm ale, feeling the heat of it spread through him, soothing the chill that still clings to his bones. His eyes follow the flames as they leap and crackle, the light flickering in the shadows of the great hall. There is little to be said in this place. Most of the men here have learned to find solace in the quiet. The silence of the wall permeates everything, even inside these walls. And while Castle Black may offer shelter and warmth, it can never offer the kind of peace the Watchman feels when standing alone, watching the vast wilderness stretch out under the stars. He listens to the quiet chatter of the others around the fire, but his mind is elsewhere. Outside, the world beyond the wall continues, silent and distant. He cannot quite shake the feeling of the night, the lingering presence of something unknown that has followed him through the years, even if it is nothing more than an old man's superstition. The legends and tales of the Night's Watch, of creatures lurking in the dark corners of the world, never truly leave him. But for now, the danger is not real. The Watchman has learned to accept that. There is no use in looking for shadows that may never exist. A soft murmur of laughter interrupts his thoughts, and he glances toward a small group of younger recruits sitting near the fire, their faces flushed from drink, their voices animated with the excitement of their first days in the watch. They laugh at something one of them has said, the sound of it cutting through the quiet like a sharp wind. For a moment, he feels the weight of time, the endless cycle of men coming and going. Their faces changing, but their stories always the same. The recruits, so full of fire and optimism, will learn, just as he did, that the wall is not a place of adventure. It is a place of duty, a place where time moves slower than anywhere else, and where men grow older before their years. He watches them for a moment, their carefree laughter filling the room, and then turns his attention back to the fire. It is not that he envies them. He has long since accepted his place here. The Watchman knows that the young recruits will face hardships, just as he did. They will lose their idealism. They will learn that the wall does not care for them. The wall does not care for anyone. A draft blows through the hall, and the Watchman pulls his cloak tighter around himself. The warmth of the fire more comforting now as the evening chill begins to settle in. He remains seated for a long time, lost in the crackling of the fire and the steady rhythm of the men's voices. The time passes slowly, and the fire burns low, but still, the Watchman feels the pull of the wall, that unspoken call to return. He knows his duty is not yet finished. The patrols, the watch, the silent vigilance, these are the things that define him now. The Watchman rises from his seat, stretching his legs, and heads toward the door. As he passes the recruits, he catches the eye of one young man, the one who had been telling the stories that had made them laugh. The recruit smiles, a nervous, eager grin that speaks of the hope he still holds for this life. The Watchman offers a brief nod, but there is no word spoken between them. The silence between them says everything. The door creaks open, and the Watchman steps back into the cold. The night air is sharp, the scent of the wilderness carrying on the breeze. The fire's warmth seems far behind him now, but it is not a feeling he longs for. The cold of the wall is the only true comfort, the only true constant. He takes a deep breath, feeling the icy air fill his lungs, and begins his walk back to the wall's edge. The night is still. The stars have returned to their familiar place in the sky, their faint light casting long shadows over the snow-covered landscape. The world feels as quiet as ever. His boots crunch softly in the snow as he walks, his pace slow and steady. The stillness wraps around him once again, as it always does, and for a moment, the Watchman allows himself to simply exist in it, to let the silence fill him. There are no thoughts now, no memories of days past, no hopes for the future. There is only the rhythm of his steps, the cold wind, the snow, and the wall. Always the wall. The Watchman's mind clears, the weight of the evening falling away as he takes in the vast emptiness before him. The silence feels different here, more profound. The wall is his home, and for as long as it stands, so too will he. The night deepens further, the cold settling in as the last traces of the day's light fade into the inky sky. The Watchman walks with a slow, measured pace along the edge of the wall, the silence around him broken only by the occasional gust of wind. The stars, now fully visible, glitter above like distant lanterns in the dark. They shine with an ancient, unspoken light, offering a strange sense of companionship to the Watchman as he continues his endless rounds. His cloak flaps softly in the wind, the familiar weight of his sword at his side a reminder of his oath and his duty. The cold is biting, but he hardly notices it now. The chill is part of the life he has chosen, a constant companion that has long since stopped feeling like an inconvenience. He has come to understand the cold as one understands an old friend, something that is always there, steady, unwavering, and familiar. The Watchman pauses, standing still for a moment at the edge of the wall. Below him, the wilderness stretches out endlessly, the snow-covered land merging with the darkness of the night. There is no sign of movement, no sound except the wind that swirls through the air. In this moment, he feels as though he is standing at the edge of the world, watching over a vast emptiness. The weight of the silence is almost overwhelming, but it is a silence he has learned to find peace in. He exhales softly, his breath visible in the air, and looks up at the sky. The stars seem closer now, almost within reach. He can feel the pull of them, their distant light reflecting something deep within him, a reminder that, despite the isolation of the wall, despite the solitude of his duty, he is not truly alone. The stars have been here longer than the wall itself, shining down on this frozen land with the same quiet constancy. Their light is as old as time, a silent witness to the passage of generations. The watchman's thoughts drift briefly, but he knows there is no place for idle contemplation out here. He has a duty to perform, and it is a duty that does not allow for distractions. He takes one last glance at the stars and turns back toward the wall, the unbroken stone stretching out in front of him. The night is endless, but it is his responsibility to ensure that it remains undisturbed. His pace remains steady as he continues his patrol. The rhythm of his steps becomes a comforting sound, each footfall marking the passage of time, each moment reminding him of the unyielding nature of his task. There is no end to the watch, no break from the endless quiet. This is the life he has chosen, the life he has embraced. And though the years have worn him down, though the silence of the wall can sometimes feel suffocating, he knows that this is where he belongs. The thought of leaving the wall, of stepping away from his duty, never crosses his mind anymore. He has long since accepted that his life is bound to this place, to the cold and the silence. The wall is not just a structure. It is a part of him now, as much a part of his identity as the black cloak he wears and the sword he carries. He is a watchman, and that is all he will ever be. It is both a burden and a privilege, a life defined by a single purpose, to guard the realms of men, to stand watch against whatever lies beyond. The air grows colder as he reaches the farthest point of his patrol, the wind picking up once more, swirling through the cracks in the wall. The snow begins to fall again, soft and steady, as if the sky itself is reminding him that time moves, even when it feels like everything else has come to a standstill. The watchman stops for a moment, closing his eyes, allowing the soft flakes to land on his face. The cold is sharp, but it is also cleansing. It clears his thoughts, centers his mind, and for a moment, he feels truly at peace. There is nothing to fear. There is nothing beyond the wall that he cannot face. He is here, in this place, doing the work that has been passed down for generations. The world outside may change, but the wall will remain. And so he stands. He exhales once more, feeling the weight of the night in his bones, and turns back toward Tassel Black, the warmth and shelter it offers in the distance. The patrol is over for now, but he knows there will be more tomorrow, and the day after, and the day after that. The wall is eternal, and so, too, is the watch. The morning light begins to break over the wall, casting a soft glow on the cold, snow-covered expanse. The watchman has completed his rounds, and the quiet stillness of the night begins to fade, replaced by the slow rhythm of another day. Yet, despite the dawn's arrival, the wall remains unchanged, unyielding, silent, and steadfast, just as it has stood for centuries, guarding against whatever lies beyond. It will continue, long after the watchman has walked his final patrol. For now, he steps back into the warmth of Tassel Black. The fire crackles softly in the hearth, offering a brief respite from the biting cold outside. The familiar sounds of his fellow watchmen murmur in the background, their voices low, their faces shadowed by the weight of their shared duty. It is not a life of celebration. It is not a life of glory. It is a life of quiet sacrifice, a life defined by a single, unbroken purpose. The watchman sits by the fire, his hands warming in the heat, but his mind drifts back to the wall, to the solitude and silence he has known for so long. It is here, in the cold and the quiet, that he has found his peace. The world beyond the wall may be filled with noise and chaos, but here, there is only the steady, unyielding rhythm of duty. And in that rhythm, he has found his place. He thinks of the young recruits, of the faces full of hope and idealism, eager to join the ranks of the watch. He knows they, too, will learn the truth, that the wall is not a place of adventure, not a place of glory, but a place of endless vigilance. They will come to understand that there is no greater honor than standing watch, no greater duty than ensuring the safety of those beyond the wall. And, like him, they will learn that the wall is not just a fortress of stone and ice. It is a place that becomes part of you, a place that shapes who you are. The watchman rises from his seat, his thoughts quiet, and moves toward the door. The night will come again, and with it, the rounds. The patrols will continue, one night after another, unbroken. The wall will stand, and he will be here, watching, waiting. As he steps outside, the cold air greets him once more, but he does not feel it as he once did. It is simply another part of the world he has come to accept. The sky above is still dark, the stars fading as the first light of day grows stronger. He looks toward the wall, its towering presence standing resolute against the sky, and feels the weight of his purpose settle in. For as long as the wall stands, so too will he, and in that he finds peace.